would I have to do a karakia? Thank you very much, Councillor Kingi. Māori order. Thank you very much, Councillor Kingi. So welcome to the Taupō District Council meeting this afternoon, believe it or not, the 30th of November. Just a couple of changes in this afternoon's proceedings. Item 4.4, Taupo Motorsports Park assignment. Mr. Tony Walker has asked for some speaking rights there, so we will afford him of some speaking rights. 4.5, the lease agreement for the Civic Administration Building has been withdrawn, the item withdrawn, and I understand will be in December's agenda. Cool, thank you. And of course 4.10 is the performance report, which we've all got through our diligent systems here, so just a couple of changes there. Okay, so going to item number 1 is apologies. I have from Councillor Truman, and apologies for lateness from Councillor Rankin, who's just on a conference call at the moment. So could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Leonard. Thank you, seconded by Councillor Kingi. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Any conflicts of interest pertaining to the items today? Councillor Leonard.
Item 4.8.
4.8. Thank you very much, Councillor Leonard. That's fine. Okay, we'll note that. Right, item 3.1, confirmation of the Ordinary Council meeting minutes on the 4th of May. Sorry, just before we go forward, I was remiss. We have a couple of, well, welcome to all the visitors and staff members in there, but we have a couple of new ones, I understand. So Paula and Nicole, if you don't mind standing up. Sorry to put you on this. Sorry to put you on the spot. But the two wonderful EAs have just started on board. Lovely to have you ladies on board, and great to have you here, and all the very best. So hope you enjoy your stay with us, and may it be long, hopefully. But welcome aboard, ladies. Okay, we'll carry on. Item 3.1. Confirmation of the council meeting minutes on the 4th of May. Do we have any, what do you call it, matters arising, or any points of clarification on those minutes? No? That being the case, I have a mover, please, for those minutes. Thank you, Councillor Park, and seconded by Councillor Taylor. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against? Carried. 3.2, the Ordinary Council meeting on the 26th of August 2021. Any points of clarification of those minutes? Right, straightforward again. I have a mover. Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Seconded by Councillor Mack. All those in favour, please say aye. Is against? Carried. 3.3 is the council meeting on the 26th of October 2021. Any points of clarification of those minutes? Oh, well, that must be very well recorded, Mrs. Shaney. Thank you very much. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Mack this time. Sorry, Councillor Guy. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Right, 4.1. Into the business end. Request for extension of the street litter and recycling bin collection contract. Ava, good afternoon.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon.
Nice to have you here. Welcome. Floor is yours.
So I'll take the document as read. It's got a little bit more detail, but in summary, we have a contract with Total Industrial Solutions to clear our street waste and recycling bins. So they're the round wooden ones and the square silver ones that you'll see around town. That was awarded in 2019 on a 3+1+1 term. That first 3 years is coming to an end next February. We're pretty happy with the contractor's performance so far, so we'd like to request to extend the next +1 on that, if possible.
Cool. Pretty straightforward, Pat. Yeah. Thank you very much. They appear to be doing a good job.
Yeah.
You're happy with
they're
the?
very agile,
meet all the,
responsive to customer service requests. And
Yep. Oh, good. Thank you very much. Any questions of Pava? Councillor Guy.
Hi, Pava. I just noticed that, and I think when we had our last presentation on refuge and collection, we talked about the possibility of installing the new banks of bins. I see there's one at Kinloch and I think one down in Turangi. Is it likely that those will be in the main town centre at any stage within this time frame?
I'll get Brent to answer that one.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you. Good afternoon, councillors, your worship. At this stage, no, we haven't funded any of those additional coloured bins in for the CBD. That wasn't part of our original capital expenditure program, so not at this stage, no. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions of Pava or Brent? Well, Councillor Body.
Yep, I'll fix that.
Yep, cool. Thank you, Councillor Body. We will adjust that. Any other questions? There's a recommendation there that we approve the 1 year extension, then we go out to a full tender process. After that, do we?
And there's one more plus one.
One more. Yep, cool. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Body. Been moved by Councillor Body, seconded by Councillor Taylor. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you, Papa. Thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Is that Movember, Brent? Well done. Okay, item 4.2, contract for Mairo Street Taupō rehabilitation for stage 2. We have Mr. Colin Giles. Colin. Good afternoon, Colin. Welcome. Cool. Thank you very much, Colin. Councillor Park.
Thank you. Just that this is a different contractor to the ones who did the first rehabilitation works.
The first contractor was whai,
Yeah.
and this is now replaced.
Great. Thank you.
Very good. No other questions of Colin? All straightforward, so it's just the completion of that road, isn't it? Thanks, Colin. Yep, I'll just get a mover for that. Moved by Councillor Kingy, seconded by Councillor Guy. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against? Carried. Thank you very much, Colin. Appreciate your time today. Right, 4.3. New public road names. Louise. Good afternoon, Louise.
How are you? So you can, well, I take the item as read, but you can see we've had a number of applications received over the last 7 or 8 months, and we've decided to bundle them all up together in one rather than piecemeal coming to different meetings. And yeah, is what it is.
There it
What do you
is.
think?
There it is. Thanks, Louise. Questions? Councillor Leonard.
Louise, just thinking historically we had some issues around some names, around some subdivisions because consultation hadn't taken place. Has that taken place? Are we satisfied that that's been met with these recommendations?
Well, there's definitely been lots and lots of attempts by all the various developers to engage. With the Seven Oaks one in particular, they listed all the consultation that they had going back and forward, and that started in April 2019. And then the last correspondence was, just proceed and take them to councillors. We're not able to get feedback.
Okay.
So that was in June this year, and so we also Dylan Tahoe, obviously before he resigned, did send out another email to all the iwi and hapu groups about these particular road names. That was in early October, and again we haven't received any feedback, and so I had to bring them here today because we've got a couple of these subdivisions are actually going to be with Lynn's getting new titles soon, so we
Just
have
happy to have an update. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Louise. Cool. Any other questions? No, we better get on with it. Thank you, Louise. Do I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thanks,
Thank
Louise.
you.
Right, 4.4, Taupō Motorsports Park assignment of leases. Ella, our corporate solicitor. Oh, right. Tony, come on up if you like.
That was on.
Okay. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you.
So, yep.
I can introduce the item if you like first.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Thank you.
So this paper seeks your approval as landowner and administering body of reserve land to the assignment of Taupō Motorsport leases from TMP Limited to the proposed assignee Taupō Motorsport Park New Zealand Limited. The company director and sole shareholder of the proposed assignee, being Taupō Motorsport Park Limited, is Tony Quinn, who is a successful businessman and motorsport racing enthusiast. And of note, Tony Quinn also owns 2 other racing circuits, Hampton Downs and Highlands Motorsport Park. Approving the assignment will mean that the sale of the Taupō Motorsport Park will go ahead, and this has 2 key financial benefits. One, all outstanding debts owed by TMP Limited and its related investment company TMP Properties Limited will be repaid to council on settlement. And 2, it's anticipated that the new owner will invest in the park and that this will have a financial benefit for the Taupō District with the hosting of new future events. Happy to answer any questions. And
Thank you, Ella. And I'm pretty sure Tony wanted to say a few words. Welcome, Tony,
Thank you.
And congratulations on, successfully.
Yes, I was actually
colluding.
only 26 when I got the job. But, I guess I'm preempting your approval, but I was coming along to, on behalf of the shareholders and the directors, to acknowledge Council's somewhat extreme patience over the years. It has been a challenge, but I don't think that people recognise that it was always going to be. The world has changed. Of course, we're all wearing masks because of that, but motorsport has changed, and the whole process of that business has changed. And certainly, I recognise that when we took over in 2015, when it was in a bad way. The first order of the day, and has been since then, has been change management. And I think Tony Quinn recognises that. But I think the change management and the change that's happened has actually set it up for a very good future for not only Tony long term, but direct benefits will come to the district. We've changed the business model substantially, and that's actually helping on a weekly and a monthly basis to bring people to Taupo. Just finally, I think it will end up being what we call a motorsport country club, and there'll be more of that sort of activity along with the bigger events as they come to hand. But just finally, we'd like to thank the council for their help along the way.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. And can I just say on behalf of the people of Taupo, thank you to you personally. You took over the organisation when it was on its knees and slowly guided it through the, paying the invoices and all that sort of thing. And if it wasn't for you, I don't think we'd be, in this situation today. So thank you so much, Tony. And one thing you have done is always kept us up to date, myself and the CEO, as to what things are happening. And,
yes.
And truly appreciate it. They're not easy things to run, as you know. The cash doesn't
Tell me about it.
necessarily
I'm going
come
to write
in
a book one day.
Yeah. So, and just publicly, I'd like to welcome Mr. Tony. Sorry, I'm preempting the resolution, but welcome Mr. Tony Quinn. I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple of times. A wonderful, successful Australian, multi-millionaire. So to have him invest in our district is just hugely appreciative, and thank you for connecting the dots here, Tony. So.
I think I liken it very much alongside the Wairiki Golf Course.
Yeah.
Another person who's invested, and it's just a fantastic facility, and there's no question about the plans they've got. You'll be quite surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you.
All right, back to you, Ella. No other. Just assignment of lease, pretty straightforward. Yep, cool. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Body. Lovely. Thank you. Any other questions? No? There's a resolution there. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Rankin. Seconded by Councillor Guy. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Ella. Thank you, Tony. Good to see you. Right. We've delayed 4.5. 4.6, adoption of report on dog control policy and practices. Mr. Ross McDonald. Good afternoon, Ross.
That's better.
There you go.
So yeah, pretty straightforward one. I'd like to take the document as being read, and we're just asking for the acceptance of the 2020-2021 report to DIA and government on our policy and practices for dog control. So happy to take any questions of on the report.
Thank you, Ross. Any questions? Councillor Park.
Thanks, Ross. Just from I love the pretty pictures as well, but just from a health and safety perspective, have you noticed a lot better sort of behaviour or interaction with different people with the body cams?
From the body cams, yep. So we introduced those probably 2.5, 3 years
Oh, is it that long ago?
I think it's
Okay.
that long ago.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. But yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. The long and short of it is, yeah, a massive change, especially with that forward-facing screen where someone can see themselves and whether they're behaving or not behaving. It does change it, yeah. So that's good.
Very good. Any other questions, Ross? Councillor Taylor.
Not so much a question, just a comment. Thank you, Ross, for your report, and please pass our thanks back to the team, both with Councillor Leonard and Councillor Body as the Dog Control Committee. We see the sharp end of some of your interactions with our client base, and want to thank you for the professionalism that you show and your team. So thank you.
Thank you. Cool. And likewise, on behalf of the team, it's good to engage with a committee that does challenge what we do as well, so that it just forces us to look at things and make ourselves better. So I'm really happy with
Awesome.
how things are going. So
Thank you, Ross. Cool. Okay, happy to adopt that. Adopt the control. So it's been moved by report by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Leonard. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against? Carried. Thank you, Ross.
great. Thank you.
Good.
It's nice and easy. I had a whole speech prepared and everything.
Oh, we'll know that. We'll know that for next time. We'll note that. Shaney will note that in the minutes. Ask some questions next time. 4.7, update to Treasury Management Policy for Carbon Unit Trading. We have Mr. Andrew Peckham. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, Councillors. So this item is just updating our Treasury Management Policy as it relates to carbon trading. Carbon as an obligation for Council was significantly higher than it used to be. 2 years ago, our carbon obligation was below 400,000. This year it'll run to about $1.8 million, and that's really just a reflection of the carbon price, which has increased from $25 to about $65 over that same period of time. What we're doing here is updating the Treasury Management Policy to allow us a little bit more flexibility in how we manage that liability, given that it's growing. So this allows us to do a few things. First of all, trade more instruments in relation to carbon. So at the moment we have a $500,000 limit on the transaction size for carbon. We'd like to increase that to $2.5 million, which will allow us to trade larger transactions and therefore get better pricing and fulfil our obligation more efficiently. The second part is allow us to trade carbon a little bit more for future years. So at the moment, most of our operation, our Treasury operation, focuses on carbon for the current year. We would like to be able to trade so that we're fulfilling more of our obligation into future years and locking in better prices now, because we just see a fairly positive trajectory on trajectory on carbon pricing. And the two other bits also relate really to future years, and that is if we are trading carbon out for another year into the future, we want to put some limits on who can do that, and these changes to the policy put those limits in place, and also allow us to put up collateral and only deal with reputable, creditworthy counterparties. So really this is just an update to the policy to reflect the higher value of carbon to us and allow us to manage it effectively.
Very good, Andrew. We totally understand. Any questions? Councillor Body.
Sorry, we're taking the risk. Yes. Yeah, yes. There's a lot of work underway at the moment with our climate change strategy piece of work, and there'll be a council workshop coming up in the very near future on that, and that'll be talking more about physical carbon and what we can do to reduce the amount of carbon that we emit, and also create more offsets around carbon. This change really is just about the carbon obligation that we do have, and we will always have a significant carbon obligation regardless of really what we do to reduce that. Yes, it can do, yeah. Well, actually doing it, not just showing it, yeah.
Councillor Williamson.
Yes, through the chair. Thank you. I think Andrew's partly answered my question regarding, you've got on the report to change the upper limit to $2.5 million along with estimated future annual obligations. Well, this is only applies to this financial year, doesn't it? So obviously we're looking at mitigating the carbon footprint in units as well in the future with other practices.
That's right. It's a very steep price trajectory. I don't know where that will stop, but we are just putting a little buffer in there so that we can get better deals going forward, basically.
Councillor Park.
And just through the chair, I understand that we no longer are able to buy at fixed rates for carbon. Is that correct?
We can buy carbon credits in two ways. So we can buy on the spot market, which is effectively a reasonably liquid traded market. We can just buy a carbon credit there on the spot. We could also trade with a direct counterparty. So we can go to somebody who trades in carbon units and just trade one-to-one bilaterally with them by signing a contract either in relation to current year carbon units or future year carbon units.
Yeah, and I understand about the future proofing of the policy, and it's a good idea. And the carbon credits don't actually then are tagged to the costs that they were purchased for future use. If we were to end up, say we do an amazing job in reducing our landfill emissions for a start, can we on-sell carbon credits, or would
Yes.
you just bank those for future?
No, we could on-sell them. I think in the past people haven't done that so much. Once you've bought them, they tend to, on a steep price trajectory upwards, they tend to be in the money, so you hold on to them and surrender them against future obligations. But absolutely, they're a tradable financial instrument. We could trade them off. We wouldn't get stuck with them.
Andrew, where do our forestry assets sit in all this?
Yes, we do have forestry assets. Of course, our forestry assets don't create carbon credits for us. They're not that type of forest. They were planted, I understand, too early to be eligible for the emissions trading scheme and the creation of carbon units. So they don't actually play into our carbon equation in a financial sense. Although I'd argue that they do sequester physical carbon, so they will form part of our carbon policy and our analysis of what our net emissions actually are.
Okay. Yeah. At some stage, I suppose I'm not too sure where we're at with the Rangataiki forest. Is it we've done one cut, haven't we, and replanted? So we still own those trees, or the Crown?
We still own those trees. Yeah. So as I say, I think the time to revisit that is when we talk about that climate change strategy and have that workshop there.
Cool. Thank you for that. All right, any other questions of Andrew? No? Pretty straightforward. There's a resolution up there. Is that all tickety-boo? Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Williamson, seconded by Councillor Westerman. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you. Right, 4.8, delegation of decision-making powers, proposed subdivision in Tonga Street. Eva, good afternoon.
Kia ora koutou.
Kia ora.
So I'm back again to ask for you to delegate the decision making for a limited notified hearing this time, where the applicant and their submitter have not managed to resolve their matters between them, and so they want to take it to a hearing. And so we're asking for in this instance, Councillor Westman to be able to sit on the panel with someone, an independent commissioner with the chairperson qualification.
Okay. Any questions or queries? Councillor Park?
Just through the chair, considering the time frame, have we found that person?
No,
So would this agenda item then be able to give the delegation or whatever for that person to be appointed without it having to come back to us?
I think so. So whilst obviously down here we were hoping that we'd be able to hold the hearing before the end of this year, we've basically run out of time. But the recommendation is just that you delegate that authority so that we can just go ahead when we can get everyone in place,
Get it underway. Yep.
whether that's in the new year or,
Okay. Any other questions or queries? Very good. Okay, there's a resolution there. Moved by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against? Carried. Thank you, Heather. 4.9. Changes to delegations. Dennis. And Andrew.
Your Worship, Councillors, I've got a report here on changing the delegations for the CE in relation to financial expenditure. I'll just take you through 2 or 3 key items. So the delegation is to approve expenditure identified in the relevant annual plan, capped at the amount budgeted for that annual plan item. There's a delegation to approve budget substitution of up to 500,000. But the result is a net zero effect on the overall TDC budgeted expenditure, and finally a delegation to approve unbudgeted expenditure up to a value of 100,000. If you recall, back in October we had a workshop with yourselves and the enterprise leadership team, and this was one of those discussion points. We got consistent feedback from councillors during that workshop that providing the works were identified in the relevant annual plan and within approved budgets, there was no reason why the approval of a tender should not be an operational matter. And finally, in terms of risks, any perceived risk of a lack of control over significant council spend can be addressed by way of Chief Executive's monthly report to the council on the exercise of that delegation. I'd take any questions, Your Worship.
Thanks, Dennis. Any questions? Councillor Park.
Thank you. Just with the delegation to approve budget substitution, would that be within activity? So
Across activities.
So across. So if it's allocated in a wastewater budget, it could be reallocated to transport.
Unless it was affected by specific rating requirements. Yeah. So if you've got a targeted rate for something, then it would need to be within that targeted rate area. So in the example you gave, no, you wouldn't be able to take money out of wastewater and put it towards transport.
What was the delegation before, Dennis?
Delegation was 500,000.
And so you're increasing it by how much?
Increasing it, it becomes unlimited to within the
I see.
within the budget.
Okay. All right. Councillor Rankin, sorry.
I don't have a question. I just want to say I absolutely agree with the recommendation. It takes councillors away from that line between operations and governance. And the Chief Executive is our one employee. He is absolutely accountable to us for his actions and will be for this like anything else. I think it's exactly as it should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rankin. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I agree on that, but just one comment I'd make just in relation to the recommendation. And Dennis, you've identified the risks and the monthly reporting and the feedback loop. So, and I get that, but in terms of transparency and for the benefit of our constituents, I would prefer to see that as part of the recommendation, so it becomes part of the resolution that we have that monthly fee or the appropriate periodic feedback, just so we remain abreast of it. I'm not suggesting we won't, but if it's formalised in here, then there's no argument, no room for ambiguity.
Any other commentary? Right, all good? All straightforward. So, what's your suggestion to change something here?
Just add as an item 4, the risk matter that items approved in the previous month.
Documented.
Yeah, we don't need to pre-approve them, just so we have clear visibility of what's going on. Because we're going to get asked, why did this happen, why did that happen, just so we know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a transparency issue, that's all.
So new number 4.
Just a bit of clarification though. I don't disagree with what Councillor Taylor's saying. In the past we've had an agenda and it might say unbudgeted money, so it's actually physically in front of us. So what Councillor Taylor's leading to, if that doesn't happen, it would appear as a budget item or an item in the agenda at some stage, so we actually know it's taken place. There's no unbudgeted
In here,
money.
anything under budget is approved up to 100,000. Correct? Correct? Yeah.
Well, by this it does.
So
I thought that was always stated. If there's any unbudgeted money, let's say for instance we've got 100,000 to do a job, but we're 20,000 short, it would say and 20,000 unbudgeted money. So I'm just trying to work out where the changes are.
Yeah, well, what Kevin's suggesting here, anything would be in the new number 4, correct?
Yep.
Oh, sorry mate.
Thank you. No, all I'm suggesting, I don't disagree with 1, 2 and 3. Perfectly sensible. In fact, I advocated for it at the workshop. It just makes sense. Why would we want to get into the weeds? We've already approved it at a governance level, and then we have to go back again to do basically repeat what we've already done. It doesn't make sense. All I'm suggesting is that for the sake of transparency, that we have a reporting line back to us on what has actually occurred.
Yes.
That's
So,
all.
yeah, so no one disagrees with that, but John, what John's saying is the unbudgeted part. If there is an unbudgeted item for 80,000, do we want that
No.
in the? That'll be part of the reporting. So
Yeah.
it will be there, John. Yeah.
Through the chair, probably, just maybe suggest.
Councillor Williamson.
You've got the, in the point 3 delegations, put the CEO delegation, so it's put more, so we know it's going to be coming back from the CEO in the resolution, recommendation. Just expanding, I hear what Councillor Taylor's saying.
Yeah, cool. Okay, we've got the wording right there. Sorry.
Could I just refine that a little bit? So that the chief executive exercises his delegation on a daily basis. We don't want to have a resolution where we're reporting everything. So could I suggest that we report approval of expenditure over 500,000, which is the current level. We report any substitution between activities over 500,000. And perhaps any unbudgeted expenditure over, say, 50,000 in that report, rather than everything. Otherwise, we'd be might be an exhaustive list of small delegations.
Fair enough. Yeah. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, thank you. I don't want to get into the weeds. I'm not interested in all the minutiae, but it's these 3 items here, and it's just reporting back on those 3 items. That's it. Keep it at a high level.
Yeah.
Just so we know what's going on. That's all.
So, the wordings, that's a new number 4, Shane. Is that all right? Yeah. New number 4? Yeah. The extents outlined above be required.
I think that will still require showing that every pen that we buy on the back, so I think we need to put those limits that, I think, Andrew suggested a good idea was a report back of anything of expenditure of over 500,000, budget substitutions over, well, that is only up to 500,000. and then any unbudgeted expenditure over $50,000. You might be in those, let's put $3 over or something, something like that.
Achieved.
That's the maximum of that safety section.
I think the next one, and the reason I say that is that there would be no change in the current situation, because the current situation
All right. We happy with that? Yep. You happy to move that? Yeah. Oh, thank you. Moved by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Rankin. 1, 2, 3 and 4. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thanks, Dennis. Thank you, Andrew. All right. 4.10, Council's October Performance Report. Who do we get? Mr. CEO, is it? Or Andrew does that? Okay. Andrew.
Thank you, Your Worship. We got there quickly. So very pleased to present a new format for the performance report this month. As you know, last month we changed some of the information that we were reporting to try and make it a little more pointed. And this month we've refined the format of that to hopefully make it a little more user-friendly, easy to read, and a little bit more pro. I just wanted to draw your attention to a couple of things in the written report, and then in particular I want to focus this month on Treasury, which you'll be excited about. The financial summary, first I should say we're pleased to be reporting this month for the first time on our 12 strategic priorities. That's the first meaty section after the CEO's commentary. The reporting on those strategic priorities will evolve over time. This month we've kind of just bullet pointed the key activities in relation to those. But over time we do want to develop some measures, we do want to develop some more visual reporting and some traffic lights around those so that you can see at a glance how we're going, what we're making good progress with, and what we might have blockers on that we need to have a chat about. So we're pleased with that, and I think that's good progress to lift the level of our reporting. The financial summary, I just wanted to tell you with the financial summary, the way that we put this report together is we use the template from last month, we paste in the new table, and then I write some commentary around it. And when I came to write the commentary this month, I read the old commentary, and the old commentary still applied. So for effect, I didn't change it at all. And I think that's just as an interesting observation. It just shows you that sometimes from month to month, our financial situation doesn't really change that much. And so when that's the case, I'll just try and make that clear to you in the report so that you're not burning your time looking at that stuff if it hasn't changed. Largely, we're still on track with most of the things. And the financials, our capital program still continues to track behind. And you're well aware of some of the challenges around that. And we'll be talking quite a bit more about that at our workshop on the 2nd of December. So I won't labour that one. The Treasury Report, I will apologise, there's a significant typo in the Treasury Report, which is that the column headed compliance status doesn't have any ticks or crosses in it. I think we've managed to get that wrong. We've transposed it into diligent. I'm pleased to say that there are green ticks. There should be green ticks in that column all the way down, with the exception of one measure, which is around carbon units. And that's explained in the comment at the bottom of that page with the compliance table on it. The carbon unit policy, so we did breach that policy this month, and that was because we purchased $1.4 million worth of carbon units in order to fulfil our obligation for this current calendar year. We needed to do that. There was some danger in waiting and doing that later. Gareth and I discussed it and decided that the best thing was to proceed and purchase some carbon units to fulfill our obligation. Essentially, we had no choice anyway, and the only other way to do that would have been to split it into smaller transactions, which were below our delegated limit. And I'd rather just do it as one big transaction, get the economies of scale, and then report to you that we've knowingly done that this month. I'd like to take you through the just a little bit of a refined Treasury report.
we have the pages, Andrew, that you're working on? Or, no, I'm just wondering what page he's referring to. 148? 149? Yeah, compliance status, but not filling anything.
I'll work from that screen. Sorry, councillors, you'll have to just spin around to have a look. So Treasury, I'm well aware that often with Treasury we include in our reports quite a bit of complex information. And one thing that the finance team are very keen on is to improve the way that we tell a story around this, because there is quite a story with Treasury management, and we want to get better at that. So we've sort of sketched out here that there are really three important questions that any governor really wants to know around Treasury. Do we have enough cash to keep doing what we're doing? Are we managing our debt well? And are we managing our investments well? Those, I think, are the sort of three holy grail questions when it comes to Treasury management. And so I'm just going to take you through our new Treasury report and how it speaks specifically to those three key questions. The first is, do we have enough cash to keep doing what we're doing? And you'll be pleased to know that the first answer is yes. I wanted to just put there what our high-level monthly cash flow is, and this is based on the year to date. So roughly in a month, we have about $10.1 million which arrives into our bank account. That's via rates and charges and subsidies and grants and things. Rates is a little bit lumpy because it comes mostly in quarterly payments, but I've smoothed that out to show that we have a roughly cash in of about 2.1 million. Cash out is about 10.5. At least it is at the moment. If we were up to the run rate where we were delivering our full long-term plan of capital investment, that would be more like sort of 15 going out. And we manage the difference between those two with a couple of instruments. Firstly, we hold a decent amount of cash on hand, about $10 million, and we have a facility which is available of 12 million that we can draw on if we have a big month where there's more bills, particularly in that capital space. Sometimes we get big lumpy bills in there that we have to pay. So we manage that effectively. And when you look at your Treasury report, there are a couple of compliance measures which tell you whether we're doing a good job with managing our cash. They're on the right-hand side there. And if you're seeing green ticks against all of those things, you know that we're doing an effective job managing our liquidity and our net debt, and also debt to revenue, other measures there, which are really important ways of knowing that we're on track with how we manage our cash. One thing that we don't do well with Treasury management is we don't forecast well. So I'm told that's always been a bit of a tricky thing in council, but it's something that we definitely need to develop and improve, is our ability to forecast. I think that's particularly important because we are facing a little bit of choppy water with, no pun intended, with Three Waters and the significant reform there and the significant financial impact that'll have on us. We need to be able to see what the financial impact is of that and make sure that we adjust for it and course correct in time. The second holy grail question is, are we managing our debt well? Now you'll know that our debt's increasing. You saw that when you put together the long-term plan and approved that. We've got a significant period of sort of 10 or 20 years actually probably where we're investing in significant infrastructure. The chart there shows you that the debt goes up over time, but it's splitting it into two bars, which the black bar at the bottom is effectively our fixed rate debt. So if you just think about a mortgage is the easiest way for most people to think about it. We have fixed and floating. The orange is the floating, the black is the fixed. And over time, the amount of floating that we have, the amount of fixed that we have as part of our debt portfolio reduces. And so as we get closer and closer, we tend to take more and more interest cover. We tend to fix more and more of the debt because we want the certainty. And so our key risk with this really is that when we get further into the future, for example, 2024, if we haven't fixed those interest rates in, they can move, and there's a significant cost to a moving interest rate. At the moment, in say 2024, we have about $100 million of unhedged debt, which means it's floating. So if the interest rate moves by 1%, it increases our interest cost by $1 million. So we do have to watch this stuff quite carefully. Again, there are some great compliance measures, and I don't think compliance measures get quite enough airtime, so I'm putting them front and centre here. But the interest rate risk and the funding maturity risk, if you see ticks to show you that we are complying with our Treasury management policy on those things, that's a good sign. That tells you that we are doing a good job and that we're driving between the lines. If you see a cross, it means that you should ask a question, and in this case, we've got a cross in relation to carbon unit coverage, and that's what I explained a little earlier. We went outside our policy to make sure we had adequate coverage. And the third question is, are we managing our investments well? So our investments, we have two major sort of parts of our investment portfolio. The first is the TEL fund, which you know well. We have a very low tolerance for risk in investments, and accordingly the returns are actually really very low as well. So that chart there shows you we are actually underperforming at the moment against our budget for the TEL fund investments. That's partly because interest rates are really low, so interest rates that we get on term deposits are very low, and also equity markets haven't been doing well, so the small amount of equities, mostly Australasian equities that we hold, that prices haven't been going well. So it's not anything to be alarmed about at this stage. I'm not concerned about it. It's just we have some underperforming assets in our portfolio. We just have to ride it out and stick with them. Investing is a long-term game. The other part of our investment portfolio is around general funds, and again we have a very low appetite for risk with general funds. They're mostly invested in term deposits. They are just sitting in a bank. They're getting very low interest rates at the moment. You can see there that chart is plotting the two lines are, the orange line is the market benchmark, so that's what PwC tell us the average market return on fixed interest investments are, and the blue is what we're achieving. So at the moment we are tracking above the market benchmark, which is a good place to be, but you can see actually the absolute percentages are really low. We're getting less than 1% on that money. It sits there and doesn't do very much for us, unfortunately, but that's the nature of low risk investing.
So when we're looking at that, particularly with the TEL fund and some of our investments in the share market monthly, we were getting those results given to us. Is that going to continue?
Yes.
So we compare. It will continue.
I'm planning to provide this on a monthly basis, not with so much presentation, but these are the measures that I want to provide going forward to show you exactly that.
Councillor Mack?
I think we should be getting more now on interest rates. Depends on how long you fix them for, but you should be about 1.4 now. But anyway, on the shares, you say that we're low risk on our investment. Being in shares though isn't low risk, is it? I know we haven't got a lot of money in it, but unless you've got, are we managed, or are we buying the shares on our own?
In the past, we've bought the shares on our own. At the moment, we're not an active trader. I don't feel like we have the capability in-house to pick the market and to trade them confidently. And our portfolio is in a loss position at the moment. So if we were to sell out of it, we would better crystallise those losses. So at the moment, we are sitting on those shares. I'm going to come to council next year, early next year, I hope, in the first quarter, to talk a little bit more about our investment approach going forward, particularly in relation to the TEL fund. It has been managed in-house in the past, but our investment strategy statement contemplates a situation where it's managed by a professional management organisation, a bank or an investment house, and I'm keen to explore that and come back and talk to you a little bit more about it. I feel like, so just to answer your initial question, Councillor Mack, which is, so we are low risk, and shares are high risk, but they are a very small part of our portfolio. They're
What
just
percentage, Andrew?
Less than 10%, I think, at the moment, of the TEL fund.
Right. So if they get into the positive, will you just sell? That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to say, are we going to get out of shares until we go to this whole maybe getting it managed?
I haven't made any predeterminations on that. We just sit on them for the time being.
Roughly how much is it? Like, it's still quite a bit, even though it's only 10%.
I think it's six or so million.
Yeah, okay.
It's, when do we consider those sort of items, Andrew? Are you talking about January, February, have a workshop on that?
Just this side of Christmas, we're going to start preparing an information memorandum, which will then go out as a request for proposal from a number of different investment houses. We'll get some information back from them, I think, probably in about February or March. So about that time, February, March, maybe April, I'd like to come back and talk to council about it. The objective that I've set with Gareth around that is to have a new investment program in place from the 1st of July at the latest. So this financial year, I'd like to solve it and then move those funds, if they are moving to an external provider, to move them to an external provider.
History says that we have had equities up to 20%,
Come and go.
in the old days.
I think it's come and gone over time. I think to date we've managed them in-house, partly because we had some expertise in-house to be able to do that. But what that did do is, by nature, it meant that we were even more conservative than normal, because we had to sit here and front it in terms of an individual shareholding perspective. So yes, by doing that we saved some money, because to get a managed fund it costs you some money to do that. So yes, we saved the management fees, but the missed opportunities in terms of what that money could have done and how these returns could have been managed was immeasurable, but was on the flip side, which we never really quantified. So that's the piece of work we're doing now, is how do we manage that? How's the best way going forward? Obviously your risk profile is in any policy that you put out, and the policy does it now, talks about risk, and it talks about things like ethical investments and where you wouldn't be prepared to put your money. So that's pretty standard in terms of any public fund management that gets done.
Cool, we look forward to that.
Sorry. We always on a monthly basis got the shares that were sold, and if you go to the annual report, the sale price, the purchase price always there. We've got that a month upgraded monthly. Back in 2014, when I realised that the council was trading in shares, we had the auditors in, and I spoke to them out in the foyer about the ability for councils to use public money on the share market, and the answer was, if that's a resolution passed by council, yes, you can do it. But way back then I expressed my concerns. There are pluses and minuses, and I've seen what happened to the share market in the past.
Cool. So, thank you, Andrew. Carry on. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Any questions of Andrew? Everyone likes the new format? Councillor Park.
Yeah, just, Your Worship, I was just going to say a comment rather than a question is, thank you, the refresh is welcomed. Yeah.
No other questions? All right. Put the resolution up, I think. Shania. Okay, there's a recommendation there. Information be received, month of October. Very good, thank you, Andrew. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Mack, seconded by Councillor Guy. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Right, 4.11, Shani, adoption of meetings.
Thank you, Worship Councillors. We've prepared a schedule of meetings for you to consider for next year up until the elections in October. A couple of things to note. We propose that the Taupō East Rural Representative Group meeting in February be the last Thursday of the month to enable you to appoint a community representative at the February Council meeting. The Reserves and Roading Committee meeting showing there on the 22nd of March, proposed to move that to the 5th of April to tie in with the hole-in-one consultation process. And the Kinloch Representative Group meeting in September, we've put that on the 4th Thursday of the month instead of the last, so that the last meeting of the triennium will be a full council meeting. So happy to take suggestions for improvement if there are any. Otherwise you can adopt it and we'll put the meetings in place.
Thank you. Any queries, Shani, on those meetings? Councillor Leonard.
Due to COVID restrictions, the last of my governance training will occur in the last week of February, so I won't be able to attend that Taupō East Rural if it stays at that date. So maybe if we could move it to the first week of first week of March, the first Thursday.
The first, yes, we can move that to the 3rd of March.
Brilliant.
So
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
And Christopher Luxon has got the nod. Yeah. Councillor Park? Move the resolution. Okay. There we are. Straightforward. I have a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Kingi. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Shani. Members' reports. Oh, is there one there? Sorry. Yeah, oh, sorry. Yes, December. Yeah, 4.12. Sorry, I jumped in the gun. Right, council engagements for December.
Thank you, Your Worship. The next month's meetings, the only thing that's changed from what was on the agenda was no Taupō Town Centre Transformation Steering Group meeting on Thursday this week.
Thank you very much, Shani. I have a mover for those December meetings. Thank you. Councillor Rankin. Thank you, Councillor Leonard. Right, 4.13, members' reports. Councillor Body. Councillor Guy.
Just attended the DGLT board meeting, Waiora House AGM and trustee meeting, Kinloch Community Group Association and the KRG Rep Group meeting. And we also had the regional brand story for the destination management plan via Zoom from DGLT.
Cool. Thank you, Councillor Guy. Councillor Kingi. No. Councillor Leonard. Zemek. Rankin. Westman. Taylor. Wow. Straight around. Councillor Park. Oh, you're reading the press release, aren't you?
No, it's not out yet, Your Worship. No, nothing new to add to this morning's conversation. Thank you.
Sorry, what was that? Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Williamson. Very good. I think that's it. There's no confidential part, is there, today? Is there, Shane? No. Okay, Councillor Kingi. Thank you. Okay. Amen. Thank you very much, councillors, staff, members of the public.